Hi everyone, welcome to the next episode of Viewpoints, Enlightened Perception for a Peaceful Future. And today we are going to look at either or language. Why is it that when a lot of people talk about things, they just look at it in a polarized way? They say this is good or it's bad. This is right or it's wrong. It's useful or it's useless. As human beings, we can use very basic language, and that only makes the conversations we have less engaging and creates less possibility. So today we're going to look at these language structures. We're going to look at some tools and techniques to help you have more engaging, more useful conversations. So hold on tight. Let's get going. When we look at nature, for example, when we look at the world around us, we can see that it's not black and white, right? There aren't just two colors. There's infinite number of colors in nature. Browns, yellows, orange, greens. So many different colors in between those two opposites. So in nature, we would say we certainly don't have a polarized nature. Let's look at temperature. You don't just get hot and cold, right? You get all of the temperatures in between. There are mild temperatures, warm temperatures, cool temperatures. It's not just hot and cold. So again, when we look at temperature, it's not black and white. There's many different variations in between. Now, interestingly enough, when we look at languages, when we look, for example, at Chinese, obviously it's very different to English, but they say that Chinese has many more words that help describe the nuance of life. Yeah, words that describe those places in between one extreme and the other. Whereas one of the observations some linguists make about the English language is that it leans more towards words that put you on one side or the other. And what we're starting to find with nature, color, temperature, and also language is it's more important to start finding those nuances, those colors, those tones in between the two opposites. So in nature, polarization just doesn't exist. There are different sides, but in between, it's all about what's going on in the middle. And when we look at situations, when we look at our life circumstances, when we look at our own personal circumstances, we look at politics, we look at our friendships and relationships, our financial situations, it's rarely polarized. When you really look at it, our circumstances are a mixture. They're a mixture of good things, not so good things. Probably they're very gray, right? They're certainly not polarized. And generally speaking, when we look at our life, it is similar to nature, isn't it? I like to call it multi-value awareness. It's like it's not good, it's not bad, it's somewhere in between. And when you look at a lot of the situations in your life, you'll see that, there's some bad bits and some good bits, but it's certainly not on one extreme end of the spectrum. And sometimes when we talk about our circumstances, we might use extreme language. But the closer we look, we can see, okay, maybe there's more to this situation than meets the eye. When we label somebody else, we might think somebody's all good and all bad. The more we look at it, we can say, okay, well, there's a bit of good and a bit of bad. When we look at a situation that we agree with or that we don't agree with, maybe the more we look at it, the more open we are, the more we can see. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought it was, or maybe it's not as good as I thought it was. So this is the conversation that happens between those two extreme sides of good and bad. So when we think about the English language, let's just look at some words. For example, the word up, that's one side. What's the opposite of up? Down, that's the other side. Two opposites. Let's look at the word succeed. We love that word, don't we? Succeed. Or failure. And for a lot of us, we live in between those two opposites. Happy. We all love to feel happy. And what's the opposite to happy? Sad. A lot of cultures live by that sort of polarized view. I'm either happy or I'm sad. And a lot of the time, as we know, there's lots of places, emotions, feelings in between. So wouldn't it be more accurate, instead of to think of opposites, wouldn't it be more specific to begin thinking in terms of degrees, right? Sometimes when you fill out those multiple choice questions, they say, how strongly do you believe this? Between 1 and 10. Where 1 is you believe it a little bit, 5 you believe it in between, 10 you really believe it. So could everything be more a sense of the degrees in which we experience that? Because when we use either or language, it's hot, it's cold, happy, sad, whatever, What do we miss out? We miss out everything that's in between. And really that either or language is really, it's extreme, and it stops us from seeing what's right in front of us. Yeah, the middle way, the middle ground. And when we talk about something in levels of degrees, that can help us to get a clearer sense of what's actually happening. When we look at the movies, look at Hollywood, look at all the action movies, how's everyone cast? Most people are cast as a goodie or a baddie. Yeah, he's the good guy, he's the superhero, she's the bad person. And as we know, those are stereotypes, and in reality, each of those characters will have good and bad aspects, and it's the same that goes for ourselves and our friends and the politicians and the journalists. Like when we look more closely at people, a lot of the time that sort of polarized language we use isn't really suitable for describing the topic at hand. So earlier in this course, I talked to you about the map and the territory. When we have that polarized map, we're trying to put people in the good box or the bad box, the right box or the wrong box. And that map isn't really particularly advanced. It's not suitable for the territory because the territory has all those colors and shades in between those two opposites. Word is nuanced, and a lot of the time, many thinkers at the moment feel that there isn't much nuance in the news, in our political leaders and our journalists. And learning to cultivate nuance into how we talk and into the middle colors in between black and white, that helps us to have more meaningful, useful conversations. So let's look at global politics and let's see how that polarized conversation on one side and the other rolls out. For example, we've got that polarized conversation of nationalization versus globalization. Do we want one or the other? Well, maybe the answer is somewhere in between. It generally is. There's a big argument about immigration. Is immigration a good thing or a bad thing? Again, it's a polarized conversation, as if one is right and one is wrong. Generally, the truth is a bit more nuanced. It's a bit more complex. When you've only got two options, it stops you from really getting to the heart of any conversation. What about COVID and the vaccine? It's either a good thing, you're a good person if you take it, or if you don't take it, you're a bad person. You're a conspiracy theorist. Again, you see, we split it into this very simple polarized conversation. Truth is more nuanced. Your religion is bad. My religion is good. That religion is evil. We're the ones with the only message, the only truth. We've seen that conversation played out over thousands of years. The list goes on and on. So begin thinking for yourself in your own life about the types of polarized conversations you have and what impact that has on the conversations you have with your friends and families, but also how you see reality. Are you caught in that kind of binary either or language? Or can you be open to a third way, the middle way, something in between, being open to more information, more data to help create a more nuanced viewpoint? Okay guys, good luck with this. If you've got any questions, put them underneath the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next class. Have a good one.